Hi, welcome. I'm Lori McNee with Eye on Sun Valley, and this is Art Beat. And today I am in the beautiful home studio with Lisa Holley, well-known artist. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. Thanks for having us into your home studio.
Oh, great. Welcome, yes.
Well, good.
Cameraman too.
Yes. So, Lisa, you're a well-known watercolorist, and that's a very difficult medium, one of the most challenging, one of the most popular mediums because you only need to use water.
That's right.
But also one of the most challenging mediums. And you are doing the most beautiful, delicate, intricate work on botanicals and animals and birds. So tell us a little bit how you got started in this whole artistic journey.
Okay, well, in college, I majored in advertising. And about my junior year, they found out that I wasn't really good at drawing, but I was great at creating. So they made me take a drawing course called nature drawing.
Nature drawing.
Yes.
And drawing is the fundamental element of any form of art.
Yes.
And so you do need to be good at drawing, which you are, by the way.
Start off with a bad drawing, you just throw it away. Don't even bother to fill it in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So you excelled at this drawing class.
I did very well, yes.
Okay, so then how did you go from drawing to painting?
I just had an affinity to watercolors. I tried all different kinds of mediums, and that was the one that I really enjoyed.
Wonderful. Now, when was this? Quite a few years back? You've been at this for a while.
I started doing those after I graduated.
Okay.
And before I went back to graduate school, which is when I started taking watercolor classes and illustration classes. And then after graduate school, I decided to ski bum for 1 year.
Oh, okay.
Moved to Jackson Hole.
Oh, not Sun Valley.
Stayed there 7 years, and then I moved to Sun Valley.
Good choice.
I've been here since 79.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. Great. And I have known you for quite a few years.
Yes.
And you've been a professional artist since the 80s, probably, right?
Well, I was doing art fairs. I would come over here for art fairs from Jackson Hole, when they were around the pond up in Sun Valley. And then they moved them to various places, and I said, And
then, okay, so the famous paint or drawing, I should say, that got you started is?
Well, it's the Jackrabbit.
The Jackrabbit.
And how that came to be is I was doing all these wildflowers, having a wonderful time going out and photographing and working out in the meadows and sometimes back home. And the Kneeling Gallery, which was then the Wood River Gallery, it was the only gallery in town.
Yes.
And they said, okay, we're going to close for slack, which of course back in 79 or 80, slack lasted 2 months.
Yes. That's the off season.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they said, everybody bring in a drawing of your pet, and we'll post them all up on the walls, and we'll choose one, the audience can choose one, and we'll just go from there. Just have wine and have a good time. I said, oh my goodness, I don't do animals. I only do wildflowers. What am I going to do? And then I remembered in art history, Giuseppe Arcimboldo, who composed the courtesans out of their occupations or reputations. So a fishmonger was full of fish and crabs.
And I happen to have this book right here, which I'm interrupting, I know, but just so you know, that this book inspired her, this artist inspired her. It's very intricate work. And it's
fascinating. Yeah.
Giuseppe, say that one more time.
Arcimboldo.
Okay. All right. Anyway.
He worked in the 1520s.
Yes.
And I said, well, I can compose a jackrabbit. Because at that time, down in Mud Flats, they were having a jackrabbit infestation.
Yes.
And they were forming chain gangs with baseball bats. And
I know, it's an awful story.
And so I won't continue.
No.
Just use your imagination.
Yes.
And so I composed a jackrabbit out of what they eat. And I titled it an Idaho Club Sandwich. And I won the competition. A box of colored pencils that turned to watercolor.
A bit of a political statement as well.
Oh, even. Very much so.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Then the Wood River Gallery carried me from then on.
Yes.
And then George and Diane Nealon bought that gallery and turned it into the Nealon Gallery.
Right.
And so I went along with the flow and was represented by the Nealon Gallery for many years.
And so from that point forward, you kind of changed your whole style, and you went from there to You Are What You Eat series. And that's what she's well known for, is the You Are What You Eat series.
Yeah.
So, and again, Giuseppe inspired that. And then you've really, I think your work, Giuseppe's work is, to me, it's very interesting, but it's disturbing. And your work is cheery for the most part. I mean, sometimes you do something more edgy, but for the most part, it's more beautiful. And I could live with your work much more easily than Giuseppe's work. But so the bunny inspired you. And then from there, you've just continued. How do you keep coming up with new ideas?
Well, people tell me what they want. So I've done over 50 animals. And I think my next one, right now I'm working on a doe and her fawn. And they're composed out of all the flowers that you plant in your garden. And then around June, when they're all in and you've paid your bill, the deer come by and eat them.
Exactly.
So the deer and her fawn are composed out of all the flowers that they ate out of your garden.
Right.
And they're standing in rose bush and daylilies that have no flowers on them.
Oh, that's clever. So you also, because of your background, you are good at websites and marketing and all of that. And you've had a website since the 90s, you told me. Which, that's very cutting edge for the average artist.
Well, my son-in-law is a techie.
So that helps.
So he said, come on.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, good for you. But because of that, you've chosen primarily to go that route.
Yes.
And you sell your work online and you mail your prints around the world.
Right.
Okay, wonderful.
They've been to Australia. They stay there. Austria.
That's
England,
great. International.
There's a gallery that kind of carries me in Wales.
Oh, that's exciting. Well, we're really excited to see how you do it. And so we're going to take a little break and we'll come right back and we're going to move over to your workstation where we can see your studio and how you do these beautiful works of art.
Okay, great.
We'll be right back.
I moved out to Idaho 4 years ago. So I met a lot of people and I really, really like it here. If you don't have something like that that brings you into other people's lives, it takes a long time to get to know people.
We're back with Lisa Holley, and this is my favorite part of an interview is I love seeing the work that the artist is doing. And so we're at your beautiful workstation. And did you make this yourself?
No, I did not make it myself.
Okay.
No.
Well, it's extra special, especially this view. It's $1 million view right here of Baldy, and you're in the light industrial area, just wonderful location for the arts. And anyway, what are you working on today?
Right now, I have a doe and her fawn, and I'm composing her out of all the flowers in your garden that they like to eat around mid-July when they're just in perfect bloom, and you go out the next morning and they're all gone.
Oh, it's especially lovely. It's really, okay, show me what you're working on here.
Right now I'm working with this palette on the fawn. And then I'll wash all these out and start a new palette for her. Okay. Because she's more mature. The flowers in her will be not as delicate and pastel. And these all represent the little spots on the fawn.
Oh, they're beautiful.
And down here are
very clever
anemone, which always confuse me because of the little anemone in the aquariums too.
Well, you've done a lot of research on this. You spoke to Moss Gardens, and they told you all the deer-resistant plants?
Supposedly.
So you knew not to put that. So this is the plants that are in the garden.
They don't like prickly things.
Okay.
But for instance, on this list, they have daylilies, and I know for a fact they like daylilies.
They do like daylilies, yes.
So I have them standing in plants that have no flowers on them because all the flowers compose the deer. Yes. And
this isn't good for the deer. And then you're surrounding yourself with lots of reference material.
Images of photographs all over the years I have in shoe boxes, all categorized alphabetically, because otherwise I'd never find them.
Yes.
And then I have a whole bunch of other boxes that are filled with bugs and things, because of course every now and then, we have.
So you're basically a naturalist as well as an artist.
Yeah, botanical
and a
artist,
photographer as well.
Mm-hmm. And then I tell people I'm a botanical artist, and I compose animals out of what they eat, and they go, huh?
Exactly. You have to see it to understand.
Well, I carry all these little business cards around with me that have an image on it.
Oh,
and
yes.
then they understand.
And behind us is a lovely piece that has a really fun story. Could you tell us a little bit about this bear painting?
I will. Each piece that I do has a story behind it. So this one, a friend of mine has a bird feeder, and every morning the bird feeder would be knocked down, and she couldn't figure it out until she found a bear out there enjoying her bird feeder, and she called me up, you won't believe what's in my yard. So I drew a mama bear, and she had instructed her baby cub to go up and knock down the bird feeder. And so at the top, you'll see a Canadian jay is just furious at her for having knocked down the bird feeder, and she's devouring it even before the cub has gotten back down the tree to help her eat it.
Oh, that's great. Well, it's a beautiful piece. And, another thing I think is very clever that you do is you create a key with each work of art. Yeah. And it tells, 1 through however many on the diagram of what everything is. So.
Well, also when I'm doing, for instance, trout, and I'm doing all the mayflies, the dragonflies, the damselflies, and all that, I don't fly fish. So I would, by the end of the painting, forget what I put in. So I have to keep a legal pad beside me and say, left upper fin, is composed out of whatever. Otherwise, when I go to, people go, oh, isn't that interesting? What's that bug? I'd go, I don't know.
Well, you're so organized. I'm just so impressed. Most artists are messy, and she is not one of those. And you are, like I said, organized with all your beautiful tools. So tell us a little bit. You have your paintbrushes, and this is, what is this? A special kind of light?
It is a special light, and I work with all different types of light. I work with natural light. I work with every kind of light I can, because when a person buys a piece, I don't know where they're going to be hanging it.
Right.
Hopefully not in the sunlight.
And do you use a magnifying glass ever?
I have it right in here.
How handy is that?
So when I'm doing very close-up work, I can take it right down there. And everything
show us a little bit how you work.
I work with 000, and I go up to 3s, and then I have wash brushes and a whole collection of brushes here.
And you start with a pencil drawing.
I start with a pencil drawing, and then I know where I'm going with it, and then I go back to here for references. I start with the references on the colors, and then I sample the colors here. And then I blot them on here. It's a whole process.
It is a process.
So in here I have the wash up there, which is very light. And so that would go in here very lightly. And then I'll take a finer brush.
My goodness.
And go in with a darker color. And it'll bleed on up into the others. And then I can darken it still more and do that and get a base color in there. And then I can go back to ones I've already done to balance them out. And then if it didn't balance out quite the way I wanted, I can do that.
And you know what you have it all planned out.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So interesting.
I try to stay flexible. Somebody will come into my studio and they'll go, oh, well, they ate all of the snapdragons out of my... Oh, okay, just a minute. I took a list. At the studio tours last year, I said, if you've had deer enter your garden, tell me what they liked.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for coming by.
And allowing us to join you, actually. And if you ever get a chance to stop by Lisa Holley's studio here in Ketchum in the light industrial area, I want to encourage you to do so. And thank you for joining us for Art Beat with Lori McNee.